Today I'm going to be talking about the extended technique called Sul Ponticello. This is probably one of the most common, if not the most common, extended technique that you'll come across as a bass player. And basically what it is you put your bow as close to the bridge as you can, and it makes a really scratchy, wonderful, loud sound like this. One of the things that I love about a lot of these extended techniques is that there's a color range. So when you see Sul Ponticello, there can be different colors of Ponticello, right? You can have the really scratchy, super close to the bridge. If you move your bow a little further up, you can still get that scratchiness, but there's more of a pitch definition. I have found that playing in orchestras, a lot of times conductors will ask for a less scratchy Ponticello sound because they want more of that pitch, especially from the bass player, since we're usually the foundation, the tonal foundation. And so that's been my experience. Every conductor is different, every composer wants something different, but in orchestra I'll err on the side of having more pitch versus more scratch. When I'm doing solo stuff or when I'm improvising, again, depending on the context, but a lot of times I really want that grainy, scratchy, lovely sound that you get when the bow is like almost right on top of the bridge. One of the great things, one of the great things about Ponticello is that it's very loud. So if you're looking for something loud, if you're improvising, if you're composing and want something loud, it's a good technique for that. I see it used in a lot of contexts of like rhythmic. If you can tell that Ponticello is being used something like, like an eighth note followed by an eighth rest, and it's marked Ponticello, I would do that closer to the bridge because I think usually the composer is wanting more of the effect of like imitating like a percussion instrument or something more versus like having a pitch, if that makes sense. So if you're looking at the context of the Ponticello marking, and it looks like it's something more rhythmic, I would move your bow a little closer to the bridge. One of the main things to keep in mind when doing Ponticello is having a really slow, heavy bow. There's so much resistance that close to the bridge. And so focus on having all of that weight come from your shoulder, as much weight from the shoulder as you can, down through the arm, into the bow, into the string. I'm a German bow player, so I focus on, I'll turn my forearm just a little bit so that I can get a better angle onto my thumb, so I can get as much weight as possible into my thumb, because that's where the weight on the German bow is coming from. French bow, probably your first finger. I'm not a French bow expert by any means, but however you can get some weight, probably from the first finger, I would think. Getting that's the trick, is weight. You don't need a lot of bow for this. This is the shortest, heaviest bow you can manage. What else? Other ways of practicing Ponticello. Ponticello is a hard technique to sustain. So I always focus on having more technique than I need. So I'll practice like long tone scales with Ponticello. So and I'll try to focus on keeping the pitch as consistent as possible. I mean, the scratchiness is going to happen because you're so close to the bridge, but trying to keep it as sustained as you can is tricky. It's really hard. And so I've never seen Ponticello marked like a whole note Ponticello note. I'm sure it exists in some pieces. Most of the time I've seen it like with shorter, like eighth note or quarter note markings. But it's always good to have more technique than you need, I think. And that's another way that I would practice Ponticello, is by improvising with it. I think I think improvising is so important in learning technique because it allows you to play without the weight of having a context of something. So I think of it as like a 2-year-old getting a new toy. When a 2-year-old gets a new toy, they don't typically play with it the proper way, or the way that that toy is meant to be played with. You know, they turn it upside down, they hit it against things, they roll it around, they put it in their mouths, they turn it upside, you know, they try to put different things in it. What are they doing when they're doing that? They're trying to figure out the limitations of that toy and what it can and can't do. So I would encourage you to approach extended techniques with that same type of play attitude, and for me at least that looks like improvisation. If improvisation is something that's intimidating to you, take 30 seconds. Put a 30-second timer on your phone. Say, okay, today I'm just gonna improvise with Ponticello. Take 30 seconds. And that will help you kind of figure out how your bass responds to Ponticello, how your bow responds, what type of weight you need, the different colors you can get by moving closer to the bridge and a little further away from the bridge. It's really worth it to take the time to experiment just a little bit with this technique, because you see it so often in the bass and orchestral literature. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Have fun with this one.